broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of I Am Cait here on AfterBuzz TV and AfterBuzzTV.com. We are talking Take Pride tonight. Lot to talk about today. First, let me introduce you to everybody on the panel. I'm Bobby DeMuro, of course. Sitting next to me, joining us fresh this week, Shar Giselle. Hello.
Hi, how are you, Bobby?
I am wonderful. I'm glad you're sitting next to me and not
too.
Stephaune, because Stephaune... Whew! Okay, at the other side of the table, Stephaune Wallace over there on his phone. Don't worry about him. Danica Kennedy back with us this week again, the wonderful
What's
Danica
up?
Kennedy. Lot to talk about today, guys. Before we get into it, we are live streaming this on YouTube. Apologies, we're starting a little bit late. It's been hectic, to say the least, here at AfterBuzz tonight. Ton of guests running in and out. Show's been a little bit late, but we're here. So if you are watching this live on YouTube, you can comment on YouTube. You can go on iTunes if you listen to the podcast. If you're not watching live, you can still comment all week long. We check these comments on YouTube all week. You can also tweet us at I Am More Fire, at Danica Kennedy, at Shar Says So, which is a great Twitter name. And I'm at Bobby DeMuro. You can tweet us tonight or whenever. So please do that. We got our phones here. Let's talk Take Pride before we get into the show. Big thoughts. What'd you think? So, Charlotte, let's catch you up to date on what we think.
Okay.
Which is probably wrong, but we'll catch you up.
Okay.
We kind of didn't like episodes 2 and 3. 1 and 4 we loved. Last week I thought was a real solid episode. This one's another good one. I got some holes and stuff, but I thought this was a pretty damn good episode.
Yes, I agree. I've liked every episode that I've seen so far, except, with the latest one, 4. You said you guys like 4?
I liked 4.
I didn't like 4.
Was it the Kardashians? Was it Kim and Courtney? Or Kim and Khloe?
I didn't mind Kim. It's just the Chloe scene I didn't like. I felt like it was so forced and just manufactured. I didn't like how it trailed off.
There was that.
Yeah, like how it ended. That was my only real gripe with episode 4. But I've liked about every episode, especially 2 and 3 for me, because Caitlyn got to meet with trans people who made her stand in her privilege. They called her to the floor at the Human Rights Campaign. So I really liked 2 and 3.
That was the best part of 2 and 3. I had every problem in the world with Rhonda and Courtney. I can't mention them. I forgot. I said I wouldn't mention them after episode 3. Forget it. I didn't say that.
He made his own website because he hated them so much.
They were just terrible. But no, the Human Rights Campaign was interesting. And we got a little bit more of that today, the community aspect. I think if we could pick one word from this episode, it's we. Isn't that the idea?
Yeah.
That Caitlyn, you got to see, you're in the community now.
Not
you're
them,
here.
they.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's we look at it, and we even struggle. We accidentally say he on this show instead of she. So you struggle with it, and she's going to struggle with it too, because it is a big change for her. Mm-hmm. But after a while, you got to say, hey, do you want to be in this community? Because language matters.
Yeah, you can't misgender people, but I don't think that question really holds any weight, because she is in the community, whether she wants to be or not.
Or an active...
active,
yeah.
Yes, active. Which I did think was interesting. I know that we were chatting when we were watching the show, you and I thought that it was interesting, with Caitlyn being closeted, so to speak, for the vast majority of her life, and she never even, kind of like wrote a check, didn't
even check it out.
She was
or
embattled with these feelings, I did think that was interesting. Not necessarily her showing up to like a pride event, because I get it, but, she didn't even write a check to help, so many disenfranchised people out,
I love how this show is kind of taking us on this journey with Caitlyn. Mm-hmm. Not that I have any idea what it's like to go through something like that, this transition, but I feel like the show is doing a good job at showing this process and how it is different for her being in the media and stuff. But the thing that does bother me is how much they play up the paparazzi, the media. It's like, girl, you have a show, you have a reality show, you're like one of the Kardashians. I don't know, there's part of me that's like,
I thought
please, a little bit. But I love that we're going on this journey.
Yes.
That's she's inviting it. I think that's the most troubling part, is you invite the paparazzi. You did Vanity Fair. Mm-hmm. You did this reality show. You did the ESPYs. You accepted that award and made the speech. You know what I mean? You did all these very public things, and there's positives to that. but there's negatives, and you need to take the paparazzi negative and acknowledge it and be real about it. So I think those are the troubling things that we see, at least for me. It's like, wait a second, it's the same as acknowledging your privilege. If you're going to acknowledge it, that's great. Also, acknowledge your media uniqueness. Acknowledge what's going on here. And if you're going to say, well, I have a voice, I'm going to use it, whatever, you can't then turn around and complain about people following you.
Well, and they show it on the Kardashians even. They're going into the Dash store or whatever, out to dinner, and they're like, oh, paparazzi, but it's like 2 seconds, whereas this, it's like so many of the episodes, it's like, I have to go down into like the bottom of the hills and switch to a van and be in disguise and crouch, and it's like so much hype over that. And I know she's a huge star, but still, it's like a little dramatic in that respect, I think. But I love the rest of it for the most part. There's been like, I don't know, the road trip episode I felt seemed a little scripted and staged for me. It didn't seem as like realistic, but hey, shooting schedule, you know? I'm a little
That's why I always
Hollywood thinking, but
in that aspect, she is a Kardashian to me. In that one, it's so funny because she's so hell-bent on I'm Caitlyn with a C, I'm a Jenner. But when I look at her celebrating her femininity and all the glam and the hair and the makeup and running from the paparazzi, that's got Kardashian written all over
one
it.
moment where she came out of the store in the sequin skirt and it was like Beyonce,
she was like
working it. I loved it though.
I like, and I don't know about you guys, but this is the second week in a row now. I guess we can start. Let's start with the male relationships. Sergio, we'll talk about. Jeff Dunham, we don't really see or hear from him, but he's mentioned. And then Scott Disick.
Who was the nicest.
Who was the nicest. I really, 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 really like seeing the family sit down together. The two assistants who shall remain nameless, I could not care less about.
Now, what's your problem with the assistants, really quickly?
Their storyline on the road trip was so superficial Kardashian. Caitlyn's not paying attention.
Not friends.
The cis girls left out.
When you have the human rights campaign, you have these incredibly serious stories.
Okay,
We meet Blossom, the most serious story in the world. What Blossom's trying to do. And then we have unnamed assistants who are sitting there, oh, well, she's not our friend. Like, I want to hang out.
She's not paying attention to us type thing.
And those are valid concerns. And the pink, what did Jenny Boylan say? The pink, you're in the pink zone, the pink cloud, I think was the terminology she used, the pink cloud. Like, I get it if those are valid concerns. Like, hey, you were my friend, and now this is going on. But the way that they approached it on camera
was so middle school.
It was very 7th grade. School,
this is
drama.
And because it was the second and third episode, I worry, well, is this whole series going to be like this? And so far, 4 and 5.
With this tug-of-war type thing.
Exactly.
I get what you're saying.
But
that was a plot line that definitely could have been edited out of the series.
I'm glad it died, at least for now. Cross your fingers. No, but the reason we mention that is the Scott, the Kim, the Chloe, I'd like to see family members struggle with it, question it, because that's what real families would do. You don't know how a real family would react. And those conversations are more valuable to me, in a way, even more valuable than the Human Rights Campaign or than GLAAD.
Yes.
Because not every transgender person is going to go to GLAAD. Not every transgender person is going to the HRC and saying, hey, I'll sit down and meet with you. That's a privilege thing, and it's good, but it's a privilege thing. The families, the friends, the close friends are so central to virtually everybody who's going to make this transition. You're going to have to deal with people who are going to say, hey, this is great, or hey, I don't get it. You know, how do you broach those conversations? And to see Scott today, and Scott was honest. He was like, whatever he says, you know, all straight men are probably not going to feel the way that I feel.
Yes.
That's an honest...
I mean, I loved seeing Scott on this, but... where the hell's Courtney? She's not appearing at all. We know this is pretty recent, just a couple months ago, and they didn't say, like, this is, you know, Courtney's boyfriend or baby daddy. I mean, they said that, but they said he's involved because he's, you know, brought the grandkids into the picture. And so I think it was really cool that they brought him in. I loved how nice he was and, like, so understanding and just chill, the Lord doing his thing, you know. But I love when they brought up Chris Humphrey's tweet.
Yes.
That was great.
I love that too.
Chris Humphries deserves everything that comes his way.
Absolutely.
What a guy.
Him. I can't stand Chris Humphries.
I didn't even like him when he was on the
Kanye
show.
So
he just reminded me of Lurch. And I just didn't see how... Now, what I did think was cute was that his Chris was with the K and all of his sisters had K names too. I thought that... I mean, it's cheesy, but I thought it was cute.
That's all that was holding them together.
I feel like I was one of the people watching, like, with the discerning eye, like, really, Kim, you're really going to do this type thing. But his tweet was totally uncalled for. But I think that he was talking about how Kanye is branded as crazy, and Lamar is this alleged drug addict, and Scott's off the wagon, and now we have Caitlyn type thing. But it still was a tweet that was so insensitive and just in poor taste overall. You know,
I mean, we've definitely noticed the Kardashian men are dropping like flies, and it looks like they're going to be incorporating Tyga in the new season, you guys, because Kylie's 18.
Well, I hope that Caitlyn's in the new season too, because I am an unapologetic. I'm one of the very few black people who is an unapologetic fan of the They're entertaining to me, okay?
Yes.
I am
Guilty
there every
pleasure.
Sunday night.
We're all into it.
I'm tuned in.
Now, Stephaune, I noticed you've been pretty quiet over there.
Yeah.
You just taking it all in?
Just
It's
taking it all in.
because of the introduction. He was like, it doesn't matter.
This is
just taking it all in.
uncharacteristic of you. Usually you were dominating the show.
No, never.
Is it 'cause I'm
dominating
here,
the show.
Stephaune? Are you
Not
trying
at
to
all.
act funny?
Actually, I love that you're here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No.
All right. We can turn his bike back up. No, I'm just kidding. But okay, let's talk Sergio, because I think Scott did what we expected Scott would do and what he should have done. I mean, why would you not do that?
Yeah,
Let's
cool
talk
guy.
Sergio. What do we make of him? From what we've seen, obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe it could be as innocent as he got really busy. If that were the case, he still should have called. But what do we make of Sergio not showing up?
Didn't like
So
that.
awkward. It's like when someone asks you out and then, or like you ask someone out and they say no, and then you like show up at where they work. And
Oh,
you're
no, they
like,
say
hey,
yes.
Or like
Wait a minute,
say
wait a
yes
minute.
and then don't show up. I mean,
What?
it's getting stood up basically is what I'm saying. It's like being stood up on a date, but it's your friend. But they make
didn't
it
like
seem like a
that.
date. I feel like they're trying to make things feel like a date with like Candace and like Sergio like meeting up with a guy friend.
I just was chuckling at some of Caitlyn's language, like it doesn't fit, it needs to be massaged, or whatever she was saying about her helicopter.
Yeah.
But I did not like that Sergio stood her up. I didn't like that because he sounded so comfortable on the phone. But Caitlyn did make a good point with transition, as far as, and we even saw this, I'm pretty sure, on our social media feeds, as far as it's one thing to hear it and it's another thing to see it. Because when Caitlyn did the Diane interview, everybody talked about it and it kind of died. But when Vanity Fair hit, social media literally, I don't know about you all's timelines, but mine blew up. So it's one thing to because like I said, Sergio seemed okay on the phone and very open to meeting Caitlyn, but for him to stand her up, I did not like that.
I wonder, though, to give him the benefit of the doubt, I wonder if he's more scared of the television cameras and the media thing than Caitlyn.
I didn't think about that.
Because look at him in the interview. When they interviewed him, he
Yeah.
was real nervous. He's obviously doesn't have any media. Why would he have media training?
Right,
But he's
right.
sitting there like, and he makes the mistake, and he's kind of like, as long as he's happy, her, and he just
Yeah.
doesn't know what to do and
I
stuff.
did not think about that aspect of it
Yeah.
with the cameras being around.
It was
Well, I
awkward.
mean, Sergio's been Bruce's friend for a very long time, so I feel like the cameras have been around. It's not like Bruce,
We've never seen Sergio.
but he's been doing this helicopter thing for years.
Yeah.
So Sergio's the connect. Bruce has been in and out of that store. There's definitely cameras. Paparazzi, like you talked about earlier, has probably been there. I don't think it's the paparazzi. I think Sergio is really struggling with how to handle this transition. So it was cool on the phone when you said, I changed your name to Cait and I made a joke with my wife. We can't see his face. Now we're looking at your face. He's got to answer to his community of people who are like helicopter junkies or whatever these techie guys are. I don't know what they probably look like, but I don't want to judge them. That's their own thing. But I feel like Sergio's got pressure coming from his community, his own. So he's like,
that is a lot to
long as
ask
you're
someone to
happy, what
stand
do I
up
say?
in.
What's the right thing to say?
But it was weird that he kind of just breezed over it and acted like they never had plans or anything.
Which I don't think that was fair of Caitlyn to do. I think that's Caitlyn's fault.
Should have brought it up at least.
I actually really like Caitlyn not confronting him. The more that I think about it, she should have. She had every right to. But the thing that she said right when the scene cut away when she went down to the helicopter place is that friendship's a two-way street. Well, you got screwed over. Sergio did the wrong thing.
Yep.
He got to come down the street for you. But just because he did the wrong thing, you don't blow him up for it.
Yeah.
You give him a chance.
I think that Caitlyn understands that with being in very particular shoes, that just to piggyback off of what you were saying,
Yeah.
it's a community thing. Like when you look at the big picture of it, it is somewhat a lot to ask
Yeah.
of a man to I don't know how to word this without sounding troubling. It's a lot to ask when he has to answer to his church, his community, his wife, the people coming in his store, to publicly with these cameras. Like, I think that Caitlyn got that. That's why she didn't call him to the carpet about why did you stand me up. Like, she gets it. It's a lot to ask of someone.
I agree with that. But there's also this slight aspect of, they're friends, but this is a business relationship too. So I'm sure Caitlyn's not getting free services for the helicopter. You can't have a no call, no show if this is your company. If you say you're going to be there, you're going to do something. Yeah. Sergio, this is your helicopter company. Show up, B. That's it.
That is true.
You got to be there.
That is true.
It does seem very lonely at the top, not just with Caitlyn, but a lot of celebrities. I mean,
no pun intended.
I do like, I have like 2 best friends too, but it seems like Caitlyn, has 2 real friends that are also like, doing other businesses or like ones in the public eye as well. And then there's all these, strangers that are super supportive, but in Caitlyn's shoes, you'd want those people that you think are really close to you, whether they work in a shop and you see them all the time or they're the best friend to her. You want them to be supportive. And I think it's cool that they're like calling out a couple specific people. Like, it's really important for them to meet me this way and quickly. Like, why haven't they met me yet?
And I think, too, with Vanity Fair coming out when it did, with Caitlyn not having gone into the helicopter shop for, 6 months or whatever she said? 6 months. So it was before Vanity Fair, Sergio doesn't see her, boom, it's on a magazine, boom, you don't see her again. Yeah. So that's shocking, but we have to remember, too, and this sounds weird, but even though Sergio is in L.A. or Malibu or Calabasas or wherever he is, there's a difference between being in L.A. and being in L.A. And so the 4 of us are in L.A. We're in the scene, the industry. This is what we do. We're here. So things like this, and entertainment has come, in a lot of ways, not all, but in a lot of ways is so far more progressive than a lot of the country on issues like this. And so Caitlyn comes out and transitions, and entertainment generally was like, this is great. We love this. We support you. The rest of the country doesn't move at the same pace with the same background. No. And so Sergio's from a community where it's like, wait a second, we don't know his background, we don't know his culture, community where he lives, but it may not be as accepting just because of how he's been brought up and where he's at. And things like this, and maybe Caitlyn gets that. For as much as Caitlyn has the privilege and is clouded from her privilege and whatever, maybe she gets it with Sergio because she knows him. And that's why she doesn't call him to the carpet, because she knows this.
She gets
He works in a hobby shop with the planes and stuff. It's not like he's going to red carpets with a glam squad,
And again, with the media thing, he worked in a hobby shop with the planes and stuff. Maybe he doesn't want to be an activist. You know what I mean? And we can question him for that and say, the last episode, Kate Bornstein was talking about what an ally is. You are not my ally if you say you are. You're my ally if you help me cross the street, kind of thing. But maybe Sergio looks at it from his perspective and says, I don't want to get involved. It's not a
no disrespect to you, Caitlyn, but I didn't sign up for this, essentially. Yeah. So
which is troubling in its own way, but at the same time it's like he didn't ask for it. You know what I mean? So it's a thing for him. But all those things are speculations. Yeah. All of it is. Welcome to AFTERBUZZ.
Just like I want to know what children. Remember, Caitlyn was saying that some of her sons had issues with how sexy she was on the cover. But I liked it. But then again, I'm not her child. But I liked how unapologetic she just busted through the floodgates on that cover. But I want to know which sons were kind of like well, Kate, because you got to look at it from their perspective too, from their friends and their peers, like.
That's their dad at age 65, just switching
and a
going on the magazine.
With tasteful makeup on, shot by Annie Leibovitz for
I love
Vanity Fair.
But you are not related.
We're not Jenners.
We're not.
We're not Jenners.
That's not my dad.
Right.
That is. I wish we would see. We talked about this off camera. Shar and I did. I really wish we'd see the Jenner boys. We're not gonna. They're not a part of this. Really wish you'd see them on the
Brandon
show.
And Leah, I thought, I figured based on their, like their kind of hippy-dippy way on keeping up with the Kardashians and their whole holistic approach to everything, I thought that we would see them on I Am Cait.
I think it's necessary because I feel like Cait will go through kind of in this transition, there's going to be a loss of very close people. And she's gonna find out who the true people are in her life. So I think it's necessary for people in your family, not for the cameras, to make a big showing or this one-on-one meeting that they keep setting up every week for us to watch. I mean like an actual hey, Dad, I came by, you know, and I wanted to see how you're doing. You know, I know you love, I don't know, helicopters, so I bought one, and let's fly them. You know, something like that. She has
said that none of the kids, when she
Nobody.
mentions the Kardashian
so
kids,
sad.
only Kim and Kylie really are the ones that, you know, Kendall, you know.
And both times they did, it was like product placement.
It was so produced. It was produced.
Shoes.
But I think off camera she meant that too, because she, remember during the Sawyer interview, she said that Kim was, you know, Khloe was the most hurt by it. And Kim was the most supportive.
But I feel like Khloe was closer to Bruce, and Kim wasn't very close to Bruce. And then it was easier for Kim because she's like, wow, I have something in common with you now. We could go shopping, do hair and makeup. And Khloe was like,
so you think
that was Khloe's issue, because remember she said that she was mourning. I don't know if it was on the Sawyer interview or the E! Special about Bruce, Keeping Up with Kardashians about Bruce. Khloe said that she was mourning... she's lost every man in her life. She lost her father. There's no Lamar.
Wow.
You know, Rob has become a hermit. And now the man that she was closest to, Bruce, is now Caitlyn. So I know that that's been a big issue for Khloe. She said it
She's
out.
had a rough year, too, with
mouth.
the whole Lamar thing.
And remember on Kim, we don't know what Kim would have been if it were only Kim. Kim got flipped by Kanye.
Yeah.
Remember Kanye being like, hey, here's why this is cool. And then Kim had the realization to say, oh, you're right. If it were just Kim.
Because Kim does seem... kind of conservative. I know that I know some of you all watching are like, really, Shar, but no, if you really look at Kim Kardashian,
Caitlyn
she fundamentally seems
in a weird way
conservative. Oh yeah,
Caitlin's conservative and
conservative Christian.
That's the thing that confuses me the most about everything is how conservative Caitlyn is. It's kind of voting against yourself in a way.
Listen, politically, I hate to use the word used, but this is how politicians think. You can use her in that Republican Party for so much. They are not ready for that. The GOP is not ready for that with Donald Trump sitting at the top of the
Caitlyn.
with Ted Cruz and those guys.
Hey,
GOP's not going to do that.
What's happening?
But that's an interesting, and that's another that's another unique part of Caitlyn that's not going to get enough attention by E, and maybe it should, is you have this entertainment industry person, Olympian, now transitioning and Republican.
Conservative Christian Republican, parent of 10 with 3 failed marriages. That's an interesting
unique
dynamic for a trans person.
It's not normal, but then again, what is normal? We're all weird. But very, very, very unique, I think, and the GOP is not going to use that. They're not ready to use that. And use is a bad word, but it's politics. Welcome. The men in this are interesting.
They need to bring Brody on. Because he's really hot.
You just want to, yeah, exactly.
He's really hot.
Has he even said anything though since? Has he spoken out at all?
I thought
did he do a tweet?
I thought everybody's been supportive publicly.
Yeah,
I thought the whole family. Yeah.
They're holding a public front. We don't know what's going on with the wheelings and dealings behind the scenes.
It just trips me out. This is your pops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yo, no matter what, this is your dad. Show up, be there. Love on
but that's easier said than done.
That's
but
true.
They've been through so much with Bruce already in the past as a dad. It's interesting.
I remember pictures of Caitlyn when she first got before the Sawyer interview. I remember seeing on TMZ she was hiking in Malibu with Brody, and she had just reportedly gotten her breast implants because she had on like 8 shirts and a hoodie and shorts, and everybody else was like in tanks, and it's March in LA,
right.
And so I mean, it seems to be everything, even maybe privately, everything's okay because she had her, she had breast augmentation reportedly, and was hiking with her sons in Malibu.
I would like to see, and if you don't want to put this on camera, you don't. If it should be private, it's private. But it would be interesting to see one of the kids openly struggle with it. They put on such a public front. I want to see a kid go up to her and say, "This is weird." I think
Kendall.
Dad.
I don't know why I get Kendall, but I think Kendall. In my head, if they're out of the Kardashians,
it can't
happen. I don't know the Jenner kids,
but
it's a branding thing. There's
sure,
no way in the world you could ever.
But we're saying in a perfect world.
In a perfect world, because in a perfect world,
they want that drama.
If and when a father does this, a kid is going to come up and say, "I don't get it. What are you doing?" And then you have to have that conversation. It's not just all tolerance and hunky dory. That's idealistic beyond belief.
That's where I think Chris should have that dialogue,
and maybe she will.
She's the one that could sustain whatever hits come at her,
I can't
she's one
wait
that
for her
can.
to come
But
on.
for television purposes, Chris is perfect. But behind the scenes, I'm just saying. I mean, who do you all think out of the Kardashian
I think
kids? I see
Kendall.
Kendall having
You want Kendall to do
the
it?
struggle. Yes,
Kendall is the most, like, I've seen her out in LA before, and she's very shy, like, kind of
Emotional,
hides.
yeah.
And, like, even on the Kardashians, when they go on vacation, like, there's an episode where they're in Greece, and she's like, I'm always the one left out and alone. She just seems like she's not as
seems
into the
very
selfies and the
she's not.
stuff.
Remember
like
her
dressing
birthday
up.
party?
Yeah.
She wanted to give back. And Chris
Yeah.
wanted to throw, she got mad at Chris because Chris wanted to throw this big 18th birthday party. And she's like, no, Mom, I want to, like, you know, do the Make-A-Wish Foundation type thing.
Yeah, her
I remember
ego
that episode.
isn't as high.
Yeah.
She's not as self-centered as the rest of the family, it seems like.
Which is ironic considering her job.
Yeah,
Right?
her job's as a model. And she's the most naturally beautiful,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But they're all
Isn't Courtney
really
natural
pretty.
too?
Courtney's
Yeah.
pretty natural, I think.
Courtney's beautiful, but she doesn't have that like model look. I mean, they look
Which ironically,
so-
Kendall and Kate
have the same body
look
type.
just alike to
Just
me.
like
And I think with Kendall too, Kendall and Kylie, depending on who struggles with what or whatever ends up happening, they're both the youngest. They haven't quite found their place yet. Successful, of course, as the Kardashians.
They
but
grew
they
up
haven't.
fast.
Yeah, and they're
They
you know,
did.
Kylie just turned 18. They're not adults yet. Let's be real.
And they were teased relentlessly. I know someone who went to school with them in Calabasas. They were teased relentlessly.
It'd be hard
in
not
This is
to.
school
wild.
because of Kim.
Well, and just having your awkward phase be shown on TV,
Yeah.
even though their awkward phases were way more graceful than ours were, I'm sure.
I don't know, man. Go look at Kylie Jenner throwback pics.
Oh
I
man,
did.
she looks so different with her braces and stuff. And she's like, I promise I
And her
won't grow
thin
up
lips.
too fast. And yeah, lips
The
getting bigger
originals?
and bigger.
The original.
DSLs.
Wow.
those are the new ones.
She's 18 now. She's
Tiger.
18 now.
This
It's
show
legal.
suddenly became adult. Is it getting hot in here, or is it just Danica's commentary? Pride
Because I
time.
mentioned Brody. Sorry, I got carried away.
I know. I did.
Excuse me.
Time
Hot
for
in here.
Pride. Trans Pride in LA, Gay Pride in New York. Not two. She wasn't at the first one, but a second one, a coming out of sorts. We see Candace perform. Didn't know Candace was a performer till today. I knew she was an actress.
Those kicks, girl.
Right,
Loved
those
it.
high kicks were everything.
How tall is Candace? She's gotta be pretty tall.
She looks like
Her
she's
and
like
Caitlyn
6
are
feet.
neck and neck.
Yeah.
So
No, well, yeah.
She a
Caitlyn,
little
isn't
shorter.
Caitlyn like 6'2"?
Yeah.
Well,
So
I did
she's-
think with the
she's 6 foot.
prides, I did think the pride, the whole pride thing was interesting because Caitlyn had said that she didn't want to go to LA. It's because she didn't want it to be a circus, but then she went to New York City. And I'm like, but trans pride is different. I didn't even know that. I would have went to trans pride. I didn't know.
I
it was
didn't know that was
trans
a
pride.
thing.
That's okay. So first off, we learned today there's the LGB and then the T, because this kind of plays into it. Trans Pride had, what did they say? A great turnout, 800 people. Was that what they said?
Yeah.
Which, depending on the festival, the venue, maybe 800 is a bigger turnout than last year. But compared to Gay Pride in New York,
Right.
800
right.
a drop in the bucket.
It's barely any.
know?
I haven't even heard about a trans pride parade. I've
neither.
heard about gay pride or
But see,
pride, and they
some of
celebrate trans pride
But that's
there.
the point that they were making throughout the entire show. Trans is 20 years behind. I can't remember which
Yeah.
one said that, but the trans thing is, and I always tell people that, in my opinion, trans, the T is like the cousin to the LGB. It's not, people try to group it together, but when you think when I think LGBT, I think gay.
Yeah.
And trans is different from being gay.
Right.
So
That was the thing that tripped me up today, because I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Candace on the phone when they were FaceTiming at Trans Pride. Maybe it was a totally different scene. I'm totally wrong. But somebody said something about trans women, oh, this is great for gay people or for the gay issue. And I was like, would
separate.
Caitlyn even identify as gay?
No.
that's
she's not
But
gay.
that's what we saw in the
right?
teaser before it got cut off.
Yeah.
She is gay technically because she's a trans woman who's attracted to women. I mean, if you want to label her, she is gay.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
She's a trans woman
because
attracted
she's a
to
lesbian,
women.
I guess.
Right.
So she's gay. Yeah.
But is she ready to
But-
admit that? And that's the thing. If
Interesting.
you want to label her, who cares what the label is?
Yeah.
In an ideal world, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But everybody's asking. That's the problem of it, too. It's like, well, I don't want to be labeled. Well, everybody's trying to label you.
So
That's
if
what's so
she
problematic.
likes guys or girls, is she considered gay either way? Because she's transgender?
No, because you can be a
'Cause you're-
heterosexual
yeah.
transsexual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Because your gender, remember what they broke down. Think back to the Diane Sawyer piece, and I can even say this being, a trans woman myself. Your gender has nothing to do with your sexuality.
yeah.
So
I feel like
Okay.
Caitlyn hasn't really shown her sexuality at all.
she's scared. I don't feel like Caitlyn is 100% comfortable yet with Caitlyn. She may have jumped into this show too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she said on there, I'm having a hard time identifying myself.
Yeah.
She don't even know herself yet, you know?
Yeah.
So it's difficult. Before y'all move on from it though, the segregation of transgender and gay blew my mind.
Shandy was talking about.
Yeah. I didn't even understand that
it's
that was a thing.
It's very real because there are transphobic gay men.
Right.
And when you look at things, there's classism. It's the same thing that goes on in every community.
Sure,
whether you be white, black, whatever. There's classism. There is racism. And that's why I'm so adamant on making the point that the T, while the T is under the umbrella, it is not one and the same.
Right.
Because within the community, they make it very crystal clear that it is not one and the same. Because there are way more transphobic gay men than you think to know, than you'd even be able to fathom.
I always thought it was weird that they kind of just threw them all in together for one title because they
totally
seem very different.
It is very, very different. And so that's why people think being trans is like gay squared, like gay to the extreme. Like, you took it real far type thing, but it's not that because not every trans person is attracted to the opposite sex or the same sex. Gender and sexuality are different.
30 years behind though. People are like not as warmed up to trans as they are gay. I feel like gay's been like really, this sounds stupid, but like trendy the last 3 to 5 years, and now trans is starting to get into that, like on TV shows. I don't know if you guys watch like PLL,
listen,
Pretty Little Liars, or a bunch of shows.
Take it back to the politics. Go to 65 in the Voting Rights Act. Look at black people. Look at African American people coming into society, or women, African American people coming into society, and women. Let's go back to women in the 1920s, right? And then 40 years later, you go to the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act in the 60s. 30, 40 years later, you go to all these gay rights. You go to same-sex marriage. You go to all this stuff now, and we look at same-sex marriage. Our age, our generation, where we're at in our life, and we're like, same-sex marriage, why would it not be legal? What's the big deal?
And it only happened a couple months ago, and it should have happened a long time ago, I think.
That's the thing. And so I think there's a lot of people who are on the right side of history on this one who still have to wrap their head around the next one. The next thing. And that's every 30 years, every generation or whatever, that's the way.
There's always something. And just to comment on what you said, I think that trans is starting to get a lot more attention because we have more representation. It's not just Jerry Springer and Maury and making jokes now. And is it a man and all of that? There's representation. There's Laverne Cox and Janet Mock and Candace Cain and now Caitlyn Jenner. So it's important in the narrative to let people know that we are people. That's why Caitlyn was emphasizing like they aren't freaks, they're normal type thing, because we are people. Yeah, we work regular jobs, we do normal things, and so that is what's making it, I feel, more acceptable, because it's not just we're on Jerry Springer and baby I have something to tell you type thing, and
it's really coming into TV shows that are scripted though too now, and I like that because I feel like most shows have been like, oh, there's the one like gay character that they've been throwing in, and now they're like adding transgender
Orange is the New Black
people.
Since 8. Even Real Housewives of Atlanta has a trans cast.
I think Pretty Little Liars is going there.
That I did not know. In the next season,
didn't Nene get replaced?
Well, it's not really her replacement because they're two different. She's not necessarily the Nene Leakes type character.
Nene doesn't need Real Housewives of Atlanta anymore.
Tough shoes to fill. So
there's a trans
crazy,
woman,
though.
Amaya Scott, on
awesome.
Real Housewives of Atlanta.
But that's where this stuff
Atlanta
works.
Of all of them too. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's true. Because that's where this stuff works. Because you have, and we talked about this on the show, Caitlyn Jenner as a role model, a lot of issues. The privilege, the ignorance of the community, all this sort of stuff, all these legitimate things. Caitlyn Jenner as a conversation starter. Boom.
Genius.
At least conversations are for a community of men who follow sports, of a more general community.
She covers everything because everybody knows her. Because to some generations, she is the Olympian, and to others, she's the wacky dad from that Kardashian show. So she covers such a vast, like you said, the world of sports and being Kim's stepdad. She covers everything. Everybody knows. She's having the trans discussion happen in households that it would have never happened in, based on her name alone.
Every generation gets her too.
Every generation, our grandparents, our parents, us, our little brothers and sisters and cousins, everybody knows who Caitlyn Jenner is. Everybody.
Wild.
What do so we talked Candy's performance a little bit. Caitlyn, was pretty well accepted at Gay Pride in New York. I don't think they would have shown it. Well, maybe they would have shown it if she weren't, but I didn't really expect her not to be accepted in that environment.
Which I think is big for what we were just saying. I mean, now it's kind of unifying the gay community and the trans community in that instance.
I was about to say
in that instance. But I mean, it's given it the opportunity to begin to grow and you know, I can't believe they're segregated. I'm still tripping.
It's real life, man. I'm telling you.
And then you said racism. I'm still over here like, really?
The racism is real only because a lot of the times, well, in my experience and people that I know, black skin tends to be a little fetishized.
Okay.
So it's like white gays. I have black gay roommates, and I'll see white gays, you know, in West Hollywood, you know, fetishizing their body, even with black trans women, you know, or black women in general, you know, your bodies, the breasts, the thighs, the hips, the butt. And so that is what I mean with as far as you know, the
clear. No, totally clear. I get it now.
I think it's a thing too, a more general look into people regardless of background or who the person is. People are terrible. Let's be real. People treat each other like shit. They always have. They always will.
That is true.
And whether you find race or gender or orientation or eye color, I don't know, whatever the thing is, it could be superficial, it could be very deep in, but whatever the thing is, people are gonna find a way to fuck over other people. You know, and that's unfortunately the same thing, and it's going to keep happening in different communities. But this is, I think, one of those eye-openers for it. That a community that looks for tolerance and wants acceptance and equality also has their own problems. Doesn't make the community illegitimate.
But that's been with every marginalized group.
Exactly.
The civil rights movement had its problems. The women's suffrage movement had its problems internally within the community or whatever. So that's with everything. It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It doesn't make it any less legitimate or anything.
Right.
But it's just like, hey, these are human beings. This is what human beings do. Human beings cordon themselves off into groups, whatever the group might be for.
Even if they were the oppressed, they have no gripe doing the oppressing when it's their turn to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And we all do it.
We do.
Every one of us does it. You're lying if you say you don't do this on some level. And I'm not saying we're all racist or sexist or something, but we all make judgment calls like that.
We do.
Every single day.
We do.
Maybe
Judge
not you,
Stephaune.
You are perfect, but the rest of us... I just want to get you involved a little bit.
Well,
You seem so sad over there.
No.
Tequila night last
Lots
night.
on my mind.
Hung over.
Is it because you're in the short chair and you're sitting
I am
down
sinking
low?
down a little bit, but I'm arching my back.
For the
You
ladies
are very
out there.
quiet today.
But I do like that they said something, or Caitlyn said something about, like, oh, I'm meeting all these women and they're so normal. It's like, what'd you expect?
Literally,
I don't know.
What were you that's a good question.
Yeah,
what
like,
were you expecting?
She was expecting them to be really weird and like more freak showy or like bizarre than they are. And they are people. Like, everyone is just a person and we all have their own things that make us different. But I thought it was so interesting that she said it that way. Because I'm like, it seems like she just did no research before making this transition.
That's
Yeah.
coming from her frame of reference.
And think of who she's been around. She's been around the most beautiful people on earth who keep themselves, by their standards, that beautiful all the time in a very, not just maybe heterocentric, but in a very normative way for our society, for our country. And then you're going to see people in this show, in these communities with, you know, tattoos,
who are
and
grittier,
piercings, who are grittier. And it's not even just the things you wear, the things you have, but those things matter. You see people with tattoos and piercings and they look grittier. Kate Bornstein, the older woman with the sleeve,
the author.
how would you know, if you have never seen that before, what would you think about that person? Those things, you know, the way you present yourself matters, but the way you see people, if you're not used to it, it's hard not to judge like that.
Because she can afford, like we were saying, you know, off camera, Caitlyn is at a financial status where she can afford her own reality. She can afford her own bubble. And, I mean, that could go for any celebrity. That could even go for the Kardashians. They can afford their own bubble so that when social issues happen, you know, down with us normal folk, it's like they're brand new, like, you know, like newborn giraffes to the world and what's going on, learning how to walk. because now you're a part of this community that's calling you to the carpet about your BS, because for so many years you've been able to afford to create your own reality and to create your own world. In essence, that's what she's been able to do.
I'm glad you said come down with us normal folk, because this is one question I have with the show, one concern. Caitlyn compares LA and New York. There's a lot more of this country than just LA and New York. Mm-hmm. Now, is she
what
ready?
What do you mean?
Is she ready? Yeah, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is she, get off, go.
Flyover states?
You're going to get
Montana.
so many hate comments.
I know I am.
There are so many places like Oklahoma, like North Carolina.
I went to college in Oklahoma.
I'm a proud North Carolinian. There are so many places like that, and Caitlyn may not be ready to go to those places. Caitlyn is not going to be accepted as well in rural North Carolina.
That's why Shandy asked her, can you step outside without the security, without all of the... Can you step? And Caitlyn can't.
Yes.
She can't do it.
I want that. Caitlyn takes the South.
Now that
be
is an
amazing?
reality show.
That
know
would
what's
be
funny?
amazing.
Caitlyn takes Texas.
as physical
Yes.
as she is, like she'd do fine, right?
Yeah.
Because she's always been athletic, you know, and the
she
helicopters.
can build
and
her
the
own
tinkering.
house
Yeah.
and do all whatever she needs.
I just think she needs a little time. I think she can handle all of that. I think she can handle those states. If anybody can, I think Caitlyn could. It's just a little bit more time of her evolution.
I'm with
like
that.
she's learning to be more part of the community. She's learning, exactly what she's. She said, "Oh, they're not freaks. They're normal people." This is her evolution. She's learning. Once she gets to that toddler age of being a transgender, she'll be fine.
Because she is getting like a crash course in it, but that's why they were so hell-bent at the HRC during episodes 2 and 3. Like, you are now, whether you like it or not,
Like
the
China.
media in America have made you the face and the spokesperson of our community.
Right.
And if you are going to be insensitive and not know what the hell you're talking about, then you need to go back up to that house on top of the hill, and you need to lock your doors and you need to stay there and don't reemerge, because we don't need you out here misspeaking or misrepresenting.
Yeah.
But
us.
it's like Superman. Superman has this talent, this ability, and Superman needed time, to work with his abilities. You feel what I'm saying? So by the time Superman was of age, then he understood how to speak, how
So
to act.
Caitlyn's still on Krypton.
Yes.
She hasn't come down to Earth
Well,
yet.
no, she's on Earth. She's with, what is it, Aunt May or whatever?
Yeah.
This is all very fast. Like, it just
happening
happened and then
overnight.
jumped into the TV
It's
show
happening
and stuff.
overnight.
And it's such a late development in her life, too. Like, I mean, I hope that at 65, I'm not trying to figure out who I am still. I know that sounds mean, but...
No, that doesn't sound, that makes me itch thinking
yeah,
about it.
like, you want to feel comfortable in your skin.
You've lived over half of your life.
Yeah.
Like, that is terrifying.
Such a
to
late
me.
transition and a very fast transition.
I'm with all you guys
She
on
didn't
that.
have time to waste.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I'm with you
it's
guys.
gotta
on
be
that.
fast.
And she does need time, and I'm not saying push her out there before she's ready, but I think it's more the idea that people from LA and New York, and this could be, again, inside baseball to LA where we are and New York where a lot of us spend time, Stephaune. If you're from those places and if you spend a lot of time in those places, you forget that not the rest of the country lives like you do. You know what I mean?
But
Especially in
they
this industry.
dictate to the rest of the nation.
You got to spend more
That
time
is
outside
true.
LA.
They do.
I don't think they do as much as you think.
No.
They
Those
set the
flyover
bar.
states, the Midwest, they dictate politically
Oh, the
everything.
Midwest. Yeah, I thought you meant LA and New York. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going LA, New York dictates to the rest of the nation.
Not
Oh,
as
no,
much as
I was
you
disagreeing
think.
with you.
You're going opposite.
There
You
is.
think so?
This is what. Listen, this is what Richard Nixon.
Middle America, come on.
I've been
That's
talking
how
politics all day
people
today.
from other countries see us. They see us as middle America, I think. But
I think
this
they
is-
see us as LA, New York.
This is what
Really?
Richard Nixon.
I
This is
hope.
just a political
This is
discussion.
good. This is good.
This is what Richard Nixon in the '60s called the silent majority. And he was talking about disaffected white people in the South. But it's
Okay.
that same idea with different people. It's that silent majority in middle America that's not getting heard. Not that they should be heard on this issue, but there's a lot of people there who have a lot of viewpoints on this that Caitlyn Jenner may never come across, and she may never need to. It's not her job to meet every
not.
person. But there's that whole middle section of America that has a say in this, because there are people in those communities going through this same thing. And so
Yeah.
we say, oh, well, you left that community to move to New York. You left that community to move to LA. You're here. You're safe here. This is a safe community. Not everybody's leaving. there are transgender people in Minnesota
Everywhere.
and
In
Texas.
Dubuque, Montana, there are.
Absolutely.
There really are. There
But
really
New
are.
York and LA is setting the bar, setting precedent, and they're dictating how people are going to have to
I do
catch
agree
up
with that.
Sure.
in those states.
It's
do agree with
easier in the big cities. I mean, they've been dealing with it longer, and it's more
Yeah.
of like a hotspot in a way for gay
You can
culture.
find people who are
and-
like you. Like Laverne
Yeah.
Cox moved from, I think she was born and raised in Mobile, Alabama.
Wow.
And she was on the
Tiny
first thing
town.
smoking to New York City. Seriously.
Because you got to get out of
She
there.
was
Anyway,
on the first
just
thing
anyway.
smoking.
Hey, be careful now. If you say one more thing about the South,
Like, I'm out of here.
Mobile, Alabama.
Hey, I like the South.
No,
See?
certain
I
parts.
I identify from the
Texas.
South. I'm from Miami, but y'all don't call that the South.
Oh no, that's not the
that
South,
is
baby.
not the South.
It's not
I'm
the
talking
South.
about
Dirty
Houston,
South.
Texas. I'm talking about New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm talking
Yeah.
about Dallas,
Third Coast.
Atlanta.
Third Coast.
Stephaune, I'm disappointed in you, man.
Why?
The South. The South thing is really just what I want to get at. No, but there's a
It's
lot
the
of
dirty.
there's a lot of people in those communities that are, I don't want to say getting left behind or getting forgotten, but so far that's going to be the case because those places are not as progressive as New York and LA. The
But
people who
Caitlyn's
can't get
helping.
out.
Caitlyn's help because you can't escape
Yeah.
her. Even if you
Yeah.
are in, like I keep referencing Dubuque, Montana. I don't know why that's in my head, but even if you are in Dubuque, Montana, you can't escape Caitlyn Jenner.
You can't escape the Kardashians. You go to the grocery store anywhere in America, I'm sure you're seeing the cover of People magazine
We
or
had
whatever.
that conversation one day, Stephaune and I did.
She's on the biggest soapbox in the world.
And storming out
Yeah.
of Patricia Fields in a sequin skirt, looking fabulous, darling, fabulous.
We don't really do predictions on this show because it's so publicized. We know what's going on. We know what we're going to see next. We're going to get Chris. We're going to see. We saw in the
Can't wait
previews.
for
We're going to get
Chris.
the camp. We're going to get the kids. She's going to, Caitlyn's going to meet with kids.
I think Chris is the finale.
I cannot
build to
wait
that.
for Kris Jenner. She's my favorite Kardashian, by the way. Just for-
Really?
May I ask
She is
why?
my favorite. I don't
I can't
know.
stand
I
her.
just-
Momager.
I feel like I would have such a good time with her.
I want her to be my
We can
manager.
talk about that off camera, but I love. She's my favorite.
All right.
She's my favorite. I love the haircut,
cool.
the
We all have our
dramatics, the
faves.
tears.
We also didn't touch on. I still feel like Candace is an opportunist, but I'll leave that for another.
Well,
yeah.
let's touch on that now because I was going to say big ideas, final thoughts. Do it, Stephaune. Give it to me. Make your case.
I'm just, even in the way they set it up, which could have been editing, Candace walking in to talk to Caitlyn and saying, yeah, this is maybe you should get out and come out to Trans Pride in New York City. I'm performing. I feel like is a plug for her own acting career, her own dance career,
And
constantly.
it's working.
And
It
she's
is
a bad
working.
bitch.
Totally
She
working.
is.
She's a bad
I ain't taking that from her at all.
Candace is a
But
bad bitch.
I feel like she's pushing it.
But all the high kicks in Caitlyn's room and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing
Everything.
that she's getting camera
Everything.
time.
She
Because she's been gone from acting for years. Wasn't she like on an ABC show like Dirty Sexy Money? But that was like back in 2008 or something
Was
like
she?
that. I believe
I remember
so.
that show though.
I believe so.
Okay.
She acted on that show. But she's been gone off the scene for a while and Laverne came and stormed through.
Yeah.
I want her to get like a Vegas show, like Holly Madison. I think that would
She's
be
gonna
fabulous.
get it, 'cause that's
She's gonna
what
get
this is the
something
route
like
to.
that.
I see
This
what
is a
you're- I see where
perfect
you're coming from
platform
with
to
that.
get her into some hot Vegas show.
And it can
like
be
a
I
Britney
Am
bitch
Cait,
thing.
Candace Kane.
Yeah.
Only thing holding her back, I think, from Vegas is I don't think she can sing. If she can sing Vegas all day long.
You don't need to sing. Look at Britney lip sync.
Oh, she might be able to lip sync something.
Yeah.
Or do a burlesque type show like
Just do the
Carmen
hair
Carrera.
flips. Yeah.
She's like, Kate is coming to my show.
I don't
I'd
think
see
she's
it.
an opportunist.
She said Kate is
though.
coming to Gay
But if
Pride.
she is, she's very smart, and I don't fault her for
Listen,
that.
I will
No.
say this. I
Get where
agree
you
with this
fit
guy
in.
on this, and I'll tell you, you weren't here last week either, so we got to say it. Never trust an actor. Never trust an actor.
Ooh, I'll remember that for my
I'm
LA
real-
life.
Yes.
Their job's to lie.
Never trust an actor. Their job is
No,
to
no.
be somebody they're not. Their job
Their
is
job's
to
to
lie.
lie.
I'm real skeptical of this LA thing because actors are so unique.
They're everywhere.
They're all over the place, and they're all, lying to themselves and stuff. And I don't mean too critical because some of them will make it.
No. I
but
mean,
a lot of
there's
them
certain
won't.
people that just want to be famous. I don't think it's actors for all you actors out there, because I do commercials too.
Well,
but
it's LA
it's-
film.
It's that fame monster.
My
I think
Oscar
is what
moment.
you.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really about the art of acting.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
about-
Oh, there's legit theater actors and Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
people on another
There are
level.
Meryl Streeps out there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, very,
But
very
there are
few.
also Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Possibly only one.
I mean,
Who
I
is an
love to
opportunist.
act, but I think there's a lot of crazy actors I've met in LA for sure.
It's possible I've just been in LA too long.
But think
It's
about
like
that
I'm still
fame.
green
It's
here.
the fame
I'm still
monster,
new.
though.
It's the fame monster.
Danica, what about you? Final thoughts? Now, I don't know how we're going to top Stephaune, but
I know. I mean, I'm really looking forward to see Chris come on the show and talk to Caitlyn about everything. I think they're going to really build that up to be like the season finale, leave us hanging. Yeah. I really want to see what she thinks about it. And I mean, Chris is always, I feel like she's money on her mind all the time and could kind of use this as like something, you know, like I want to get in on this. But she was married to this guy for so long.
25 years, right?
She bore his children.
For a decade, I watched it on TV. So I'm dying to see that part. I'm really excited about that.
Remember the claymation, like celebrity wrestling matches?
Celebrity deathmatch.
Was it deathmatch?
TV.
I'd love to see a claymation Caitlyn
They trying to
versus
bring
Chris.
that back.
They need to.
Who wore it better turn into like a fight. Claymation style.
Because it always ended with like a head being blown up or
Right.
something crazy happening. It was cool.
right.
Shout out to that.
For me, I would say I just wish that more children were involved. That's my only thing. I want to see Kourtney Kardashian. I want to see Kendall Jenner.
I'd love to see Kourtney.
This could be Rob's comeback if he was just really wanted to like. I just want to see more of the kid interaction. I don't really see where this show could be going other than the Chris thing. I'm really anticipating, but other than that, you know, it's just like I want to see more interactions with Caitlyn's children.
Where is Rob?
More family dinners and Chloe's basement, smoking weed.
Rob's another story for another time. I cannot wait to see what's next because this is a set miniseries. There's not going to be a season 2.
Right.
At least it wasn't the way it was initially announced. It's just this and that's it.
Spinoff though.
Maybe.
Candace came.
Yeah.
Spinoff.
So Caitlyn is not going to do anything in the
Candace
next.
and Bruce take the Hamptons.
Candace and Caitlyn.
I mean, Caitlyn, I'm sorry. Candace and Caitlyn take the Hamptons.
I want to see what comes next, only because Caitlyn's not going to do anything in the next 3 weeks to overtake the show. She wants people to watch. This is the business side of it. You got to watch the show. But like a month from now, what's the next move? What is the next thing Caitlyn does? You know, because nobody saw the ESPY coming, but it was obviously very well coordinated because she transitioned out in Vanity Fair at 8 a.m. and the ESPY was announced at 3 p.m.
You know what's coming next.
What is it?
Operation.
But I don't know if we'll ever know that.
They're going to drag that out for something else.
You don't think she's going to say anything about it when it happens?
I don't think
Just
so.
Maybe who knows? Maybe
she may make a joke about it. She may tweet about it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, new veg, like, and new Porsche.
But I'm wondering.
And new Porsche.
XO.
Check out my little skirt. I can wear it now.
Like the
Something
business side.
that.
Like, what does Caitlyn become? Is Caitlyn an activist now because she's into this? Is Caitlyn a TV personality? Does she get a talk show? I mean, who knows?
You know, Wendy Williams wants to see Caitlyn on The View as a permanent co-host. I wouldn't mind seeing that either, but
On The View, huh?
that'd be good. You don't think Caitlyn?
I don't know if Caitlyn would want to host all the time, though.
The View
Because I'm
cannot.
sick of them.
The View literally
love
cannot
that,
get
though.
worse. So
I know.
anything, the four of us would make it better. Caitlyn would make it a lot better.
I like
Hire
that.
us.
Wendy usually knows what she's talking about when it comes to putting people on shows.
Wendy's, I think, my favorite.
She's
talk show
insightful.
host. Yeah,
She's like, this who you
and I
need
don't
on?
know why I like her, but I really like her.
I like her too.
No, she's dope. She's been around for a minute.
She has been radio too, right?
Veteran.
She's a veteran. Stephaune, Twitter, Instagram, phone number, Tinder. Where can folks find you?
I ain't on Tinder, so don't look for me. Yeah, on Instagram and Twitter at I Am More Fire.
You can find me on social media and on Tinder at Danica Kennedy.
You can find me at Shar Says So on everything. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And
Tweet
my
me.
MySpace and Friendster too. I saw your Friendster profile.
Remember that Black
Throwback.
Planet? Remember Black Planet? Bobby, you don't remember Black Planet?
I do.
You do?
Actually,
All
yeah,
right.
I was on it in '92. You guys can find me on Twitter at Bobby DeMuro. I have an Instagram, but I don't use it. So that's it this
He was
week.
down with the swirl in '92. You heard him, right?
We'll be back next week. I am out. The VMAs are next week. I am out next week. So if
Have
you're around,
fun.
you should come back next.
I'm
Sunday.
out next week too. I'm in Florida, Fort Lauderdale.
It's gonna be Shar and
Ladies'
Danica.
night.
Hello.
We'll see
Ladies'
if Tiana
night.
joins us.
See you guys. We'll see
Ladies'
you guys
night.
next week, the week after, whenever. This is I Am Cait on AfterBuzz TV. See you soon.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AFTERBUZZTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.